all these transhumanists talking about one day we'd be able to control humans and we'll be able to program their minds, and but now it's like really happening in a way that's undeniable and very real. Like you have Elon Musk developing out Neuralink, and then you have now over here in El Salvador, Tether announced their own brain chip, and so we have a
Tether with BlackRock, right? Something like that.
I'm not even 100% sure, but the point is that okay, this is now being developed in more ways than one, and it looks like a lot of energy is being put towards this. And so like the transhumanist agenda is very alive and well, and you have people trying to, in Silicon Valley and so forth, like technologists trying to outlive death, right? Trying to become immortal. And so, they're going to explore all different ways to do it. And I think the transhumanist agenda is right along with that, merging man with machine. And I think that's a little bit scary, because I think that we do have a link to the divine, and, we are made in the image of God. We do have a soul. And I think that soul, like you were saying, is kind of vesseled in this body. But there's a intertwining that occurs, a very fundamental, deep intertwining between our physical and neurochemistry along with our soul, right? And, when you take machines and you start adding them to that equation, right? I think that we can really risk severing the link between us and the divine. It's kind of like the extinguishing of the soul. And so, when I see this battle that now seems to be looming on the horizon, right? Between transhumanism and just maintaining our agency as human beings, I think that there's some real stakes at place, right? Like, do we extinguish our personality itself with going the transhumanist route, where we can now, our consciousness can now be programmed, and that link that we have to free will is severed?
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is still just the result of a fiat society. All of this is, rushing to build the AIs out to be first, to make the most money. It's very high time preference, right? When these tools really could help us build a beautiful, human flourishing society if we had a lower time preference, but there's a huge rush involved. So as I said earlier, it's almost like it's finishing a job that's already been started decades ago, just by the same corporate interests or whoever they are pulling sort of strings on the mainstream behavior. So we kind of covered the idea of the moral and ethical framework that we're kind of connected to with God, like those kind of, passed into us through our body. And then imagine if there's some kind of synthetic biology, robotics that then have their own intelligence, that's not really being passed on. Or maybe it could be, but doesn't really seem to be the topic of the conversation right now. But beyond that, symbolically, is if we choose to start approaching life and consciousness as something that doesn't require our bodies, then we're just surrendering all our humanity to whatever forces take power from there. Because who we are is rooted in our bodies, our intuition, or I think we talked about it last time, like our first brain is really the gut, because it creates like serotonin and all the stuff that your brain then uses as neuromodulators. So by like sacrificing our body, it's similar, once again, finishing the job. Imagine all the obese people out there eating fake food, seed oils, whatever, just completely disconnected from themselves. I think it's not everyone, obviously. It's a good portion of at least North American society. So the push to, hey, put the chip in your brain so you can get help with all this stuff, to me is very symbolic of just a final surrendering of our humanity, which we've kind of been heading to anyway.
Yeah, well, that might be the end road of fiat society, right? Is to merge into the Borg and just become a full-on automaton.
Yeah, Claude told me the other day when I was trying to work on this thread, like, AI isn't the threat, it's the accelerant.